Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hanzl's House of Stories. With me today, I have Gregg Weinlein. He is the author of Been There, Taught That, and it's my most recent project. I had edited the book, and just want to say, Gregg, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on this channel to this interview,
Thank
because I
you.
know it can be stressful.
Well,
Um, I just wanted to say it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to work with you. I'm really grateful that you somehow chose me to edit your book. I don't know how that happened exactly. I don't know if you remember.
I
Um,
think it was my third Guinness in a pub and I saw your name on my phone.
seriously,
No,
seriously. Oh,
no. Good story though.
okay. Yeah, it is. Um, and one thing I just want to say before we get into it too is editing, which I really started a couple years ago. Most recently, I didn't realize how the relationship you really form these relationships with people and connections, and I didn't really totally see that coming. And I just really cherish the connection and the relationship we have in the
Thank you.
really short time that I've known you. Um,
Yes.
all right, so why don't you tell us about the book and where you can get it? Let's start off that way.
Well, I had been writing this book since I retired from teaching in 2010. I taught exclusively at-risk teenagers,
Mhm.
and so in my head, I always knew I wanted to write a book. And after retiring, I ended up with educational consultant jobs, and that was interfering with the time I wanted to dedicate to the book. So I left that and then started writing the book 2 years ago. Uh, and here it is. The book
Here
is
it is.
available on Amazon and in
Mhm.
local bookstores in the capital region.
Capital Region. Is it in any Barnes and Nobles? I was just curious.
No, I
Right
haven't
now,
even
okay,
looked
independent
into the
bookstores.
corporate stores yet.
Okay, okay, just checking. And possibly an ebook soon,
Uh,
or not sure.
I'm counting on you. I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, okay. All right, sounds good. Um, and let's see. You answered my next question, which was when did you realize you wanted to write a memoir?
Yeah.
Sounded like when you retired, around there.
Yeah, since
Okay.
2010, the book has been in my head, and
Mm-hmm.
still hearing from and being connected with former students, and doing consultant work for at-risk programs,
Yeah.
the design and implementation. I guess it's always been in my heart, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt it was time to share that.
Yeah. I forgot to say, it is your memoir of teaching, but really too, you started as an at-risk youth. And I think
Very
that's
much
what
so.
propelled
Yeah.
you.
That's
In
the been there part.
Yes. And I think it's interesting because my husband started reading it yesterday. Yeah, must have been yesterday. And I really haven't told him too much about it, a little bit here and there. And he had the same really reaction as I did when I read the first chapter. I mean, the title is E2 Albany Hospital Psychiatric Ward. And you start off in a psychiatric ward. And my husband was just like, what? I said, I know. And that it really does pull you in and grab you. When you first think, oh, it's a memoir of a teacher teaching at risk youth. Okay, that sounds cool. But then when you hear that, it really pulls you in.
Yeah.
And, and I think that it doesn't matter if you're a teacher, you want to be a teacher, you're studying to be a teacher. I really think everyone would enjoy this book.
Thank you.
Um, and how or when did you come up with the title?
Uh, Well, it just seems to capture the essence of the book. I mean,
It
I
does,
was an
yeah.
at-risk youth. I
Yeah.
spent my career teaching at-risk kids,
Hmm.
uh, teaching them in a life skills class. So it's been there, taught that. Yeah.
Yeah. It just came to you.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Which chapter is your favorite, you think?
Oh my God. I don't know. I
You
don't
know.
know.
Okay.
I don't look back at the book too
Yeah.
often.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I probably like the humorous chapters because the beginning of the
Yes.
book is so serious.
It's
So
deep. Yeah. It's heavy. Right.
uh, there's a chapter when I was teaching at Berkshire Farm, uh,
Hmm.
and which was a school where students are sent by the court system.
Hmm.
And in this chapter, George used to come, my student George used to come into my room and tell me how he was going to make a fortune when he got sent back to Buffalo and returned home to Buffalo. His deal or his financial plan was he's going to go into hospitals in Buffalo, posed as a newspaper boy,
Now,
and
wait. George was really big, wasn't he? Really tall.
6'5". Yep,
Okay, so
6'5".
he looked older than he was.
6'5" and eighth
Yeah.
grader. Eighth grade. We had him. The staff had him pegged for an NBA star, but
Yeah.
his financial plan was different.
Yeah.
So he was going to go to the hospitals in Buffalo, and when the patients were out for appointment, steal their jewelry and whatever else he could find.
Hmm.
And about some short time later, George returns to Berkshire Farm by the state police, and he walks into my class, and I said, "George, what happened?" And he said, "Mr. Weinlein, I made one mistake." And I said, "What'd you do, George?" He said, "I shouldn't have stole the newspaper truck to get the newspapers." And the truck he parked right outside the hospital, and George was back at Berkshire Farm.
That was a good one. I really liked the one, I think it's titled The Substitute Teacher or Substitute Teacher. I don't
Yeah.
want to go into it too much. I want people to read it. I think it's called that one, where
Yes.
you're
Substituting for a science exam.
substituting
Yeah.
for an exam, and just
Yeah.
this answer on this child's the student's test for what is a single-celled
Animal. Yeah.
sorry.
Single cell. It was a science
Yeah.
exam. I was
Don't
filling in for the teacher.
Yeah, we won't
Yeah.
say any more, but that is
Yeah.
honestly, that's like one of my favorites of the chapters. And I still like every time I reread it, I would laugh. What is your like writing? Do you have a writing like process you have to do? Like I know you there's a cafe that you go to a lot.
Yeah.
Like, what do you have to do to get in the zone, or do you have to do anything? Or
Uh, for 2 years, I just packed my computer into my bag and went up to the Chris Cannoli Cafe and Bakery,
Mhm.
and they let me sit there for 2 hours in the morning, and it was just like that's all I did.
That's great. Great.
It was just the place gets very crowded, but it was just white noise to me. I didn't even
Yeah.
hear the noise.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, do you I know some writers like carry around a note, like a little notepad and a pen with them all the time and write stuff. Did you ever do that in your life? Do you do that now?
For this book, I had like a tablet in my bag where if I thought of
Hmm.
something that I
Okay.
wanted to include in the book, I wrote it down. When I was doing poetry and short stories, I made notes to myself more frequently.
Yeah.
Those are shorter pieces, more spontaneous pieces of poem
Yeah.
or short
Yeah.
story. So,
Yeah.
but for this book, it just seemed to flow.
Yeah. How did you, for the parts, well, for a lot of it that was quite a few years ago, how did you delve into those memories? Did you look, what did you do? How did you like pull it out
You
and
mean
get
the
it out?
very early part, like the teenage
Yeah.
years?
Yeah.
I think if you live a life as an at-risk teenager and you end up being resilient enough to transcend those days, you never want to lose those memories
Mm.
because I think in life you want to say, this is where I started,
Yeah.
this is where I am now. And so
So it
they
was all.
remain close to me.
Okay, cool. Do you remember the first time you ever wrote something?
Uh,
Like for fun,
oh, gee.
I
Well,
guess.
probably before I was a teenager, I think, and then during my teens, I was publishing short stories and poems in literary magazines. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, that seems so long ago,
Yeah.
Jackie. That's not fair.
Sorry. That's what that was another thing I was going to ask. What else have you published? I knew you had published poetry.
Yeah, there's my first book was a book of poem, Stones and Ladders.
Okay.
And then the second one was a book of poems and short stories called The Avenue of Tears.
Can you get them somewhere? Are they around?
I have them in my in my room.
Oh, you have them.
Yeah, I actually should have set them out here, and I could have showed you the picture of the
Oh.
covers.
Yeah, we could have. Well, you never
Actually,
know.
if
You
I
might
lift
have
the
to get them.
computer up, would you be able to see them? I don't know.
Probably. Oh, yeah. Keep going a little more. Now a little, well, to my right. I don't know which way.
All right, that's the book Stones and Ladders.
Oh,
I don't know
cool.
if you could
Okay.
see it even.
I could
And
see a
this
silhouette.
was the first one, which was the
That one. I
Avenue of Tears.
go to
The
the.
Avenue of Tears.
Oh, cool. Is that you?
I was a little younger than Jackie. Yes, that's
Just
me.
a little. Yeah. I forgot, by the way, I have your book right here. So if people want to look at the cover.
Yeah.
We could go into.
And the cover of the cover of
That's
the
what
book
we
was
yeah.
that's the high school I attended. That's the high school I dropped out of, and
Hmm.
that's the park where I did too many things I should have been doing as a teenager.
And then on the back is if you want to talk about.
Yeah, that was on Madison Avenue in Albany, across from St. Rose College.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a maintenance worker at the Vincentian Elementary School, and we lived in the back of that building.
Yeah, that's really cool. Speaking of, you were one of 8 children, right?
Yes.
What did your
Yep.
family? Where do you fall in there?
Right in the middle.
So
Yep.
they're like the 4th.
Yeah.
Okay.
4th child.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I don't even know how many brothers versus sisters.
I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters.
Oh my gosh, you guys are even with the brothers and sisters.
I know.
Wow. Wow. Okay. What did your family think of your writing? Like way back, like maybe when you were a teenager.
Well, my parents were not, neither of them were college graduates or anything, and I was just different. I was like kind of a loner, but I was accepted, for what my interest was in writing, and by my friends at the time too.
Yeah. And so,
I mean, there was not. Yeah, actually, when my first book came out, my dad had already died, and my mom died years later, so they know nothing about this project, which that's one of the sad memories.
Yeah, I have a feeling they know somewhere.
Okay, I believe.
Yes. So no one else in the family writes or
No.
creative?
My brother Gary has a music show he produces.
Yes,
a classic rock show that actually it'll be at the Golden Nugget in Atlantic City this coming weekend. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, so
cool.
he does that.
All right. Question. Before I go into, I was going to ask you stuff about music. What are you currently reading anything right now?
I'm more of a periodical reader than a book reader, and I always have been.
Okay.
So, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, I read everything religiously online.
Yep.
Music magazines.
Yeah. Speaking of music, music is obviously, from this book, you can tell a huge influence on you. And just tell everybody, like each chapter begins with a quote, mostly from musicians,
Yes.
From songs. And this was a time, obviously, where music had a major impact, I think, on especially the youth. So that's another really cool reason, like another cool thing about this book, because it's like really no other time in history with music. I mean, now music back then. I think music changed lives and did make an impact and cause movements. And now it's like TikTokers and influence.
Yeah.
Like it's just not there. Um, and I also think it's a part of the book, regardless if people are younger and don't know some of the artists or do or whatever, they could still relate to the connection to music because people do connect to music. So then my question is, well, do you play an instrument?
No, when I was a young teenager, I played drums, but I was more an athlete than a musician when I was a kid.
My husband plays drums, still plays them.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Who is your absolute? Do you have one absolute favorite musician?
Well, in terms of influence, it would be,
That's what I was gonna
Bob
say.
Dylan.
Yeah.
In terms of music, I'll still put on now Rolling Stones.
Okay.
Leonard Cohen was a big influence when I was younger, and you know, uh, he was a novelist and a poet, published
Mm-hmm.
books also. So that was a major influence for my writing. Currently, probably my favorite band is the War on Drugs. They're a super good band that's out now.
The War on Drugs.
Yes.
I don't know them.
It's a group from Philadelphia.
Okay.
It's funny. I'll tell you a quick story. I was down in Virginia Beach visiting my daughter, who teaches down there, and the War on Drugs were playing at a club in town where she lives. And so I went to see them there, and it was a great show. And then 2 months later, I see, they went from a club of, hundreds, maybe 1,000 people. They're opening for the Rolling Stones in London.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
so
wow.
they skyrocketed, yeah.
Wow.
So
You have a good
drugs.
ear. You should become a music producer. I mean,
I actually spent years. There was a weekly arts paper in Albany, and I was a music critic for that paper.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's cool. I'll have to look them up. Maybe I'll put a link to something here too underneath this. I have not heard of them. So they're like rock, like
yeah,
I assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just a great lyricist, fantastic lyricist.
Okay. I was just going to ask. So, who's your favorite musician or band to see live out of all? Because I think you've been to a lot of concerts. Who's your favorite?
Probably U2 for sure, because I have a friend in Ireland who's associated with the band.
Yeah. Cool.
And it's hard not to say they're my favorite when you get free tickets. But,
they're a really good band too.
The person I purchased tickets for was Bruce Springsteen, and his show at the Times in Albany was postponed until September. But I have my tickets for that.
Oh, cool. Okay. Did you see his thing he did on? I think it was on Broadway. It wasn't a Broadway show, but okay. I have a friend.
I have his Broadway CD, and it's really good. Stories before each song are very interesting.
Yeah. My former roommate at work did go. She's a huge Bruce Springsteen fan.
And I was down in Woodstock a while ago to see Mike Scott and the Waterboys. He's a brilliant musician. Please check him out. I think you'd really like his song.
Okay. I'll write it down.
He played at Levon Helm's studio.
Right down the road from me. Also wanted to mention, speaking of the Times, well, you've mentioned the Times Union. You also write the Christmas every year, don't you? Write a Christmas piece for them?
For 20 years consecutively, and then this year I was so involved with the book I didn't write a Christmas story for the book. 20 previous years there has been a story in the Times Union, usually on Christmas Day.
Oh, cool.
That's the Capital Region daily paper, the Times Union.
Yes. It's because we know this is going to go out globally. We're in New York State, just to let everybody know. We know the whole world is going to watch this video, so we have to make sure everybody understands, right? International bestseller. That's what we're going for here. international world. Yeah. Okay. You did self-publish this book, and it was the Troy Bookmakers,
Bookmakers. Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um, and
And that was an interesting journey. I mean,
yeah.
I was offered a contract with a standard publisher with a small royalty, but it was going to take like well over a year to get the book published,
Hmm.
and I wanted something much sooner.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be signing books at a nursing home, so I went with the Troy Bookmakers.
um, funny.
Well, you're laughing at me because you know
I
that's
do
true,
laugh.
right?
Well, what am I supposed to say?
I know.
You don't know. I mean, I could end up in a nursing home in 5 years. Who knows? Knock on wood. Anyway, so for speaking of self-publishing, which was quite a journey for me as well, do you have any tips for those writers who are thinking of self-publishing or are about to, or maybe you're in the midst of it? What do you think?
I would say research the company you're working with. There's many.
Right.
I'd say there are many that are scams. Many that do not produce a top quality book. I think this ended up being a top quality book in terms of print and design.
Definitely.
So, search and the interesting thing about the Troy Bookmakers is I visited the place. They showed me copies of other books. I went to the bookstores where they stock their books, and it's just all good quality, good effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I think too, from the editing point of view, but also you too, because we were both looking through it for everything. If we needed to edit or proofread, I hadn't realized how much we really have to double check, even with our formatting, if there's an odd space. I mean, they took a Google Doc format and then formatted it into their form. I don't know a better word for that, but and just if you might not even catch when we're looking at it at the Google Doc that there's like 3 spaces there, or there's another, for some reason you must have hit enter, and how it translates over into the new form. A couple, there were places that the paragraph divided in half, and the publishers, they don't, and I think that's just regular, the regular process. They don't proofread, they don't read it, they just kind of do it, and they do what they're told, and that's really kind of it. And that, I think that surprised me. I thought there was going to be another pair of eyes on it.
Yeah, well, that's where you came in.
But then I feel like we needed a third person to like read.
I'm very happy with the
No,
outcome.
I'm happy too. I'm happy too with it. But I think so. I just think that was a little
But
bit
that
of a
would be
surprise.
the tip, Jackie. That would be the tip, is to if you are going that route to publish, then make sure you have an editor. Don't just send the manuscript off. Yeah.
Yes, and preferably me. Just kidding. All right. That was kind of, I was going to close this off. This is shorter than I thought. I thought I'd be talking for hours. I just have some like questions, like favorite questions, like things to ask you. Like, so who's your favorite? Well, you'd like to read periodicals, but do you have a favorite author?
Yeah. Harry Crews, he was a professor at the University of Florida, Gainesville. This is a while back, and I was friends with a author in New York City, Henry Van Dyke, who has a couple novels out that are, I don't know, they were published by New York City publishers, but that was quite a while ago, so I don't even know if they're in stock or what. But Henry Van Dyke, and he on a visit to New York City, he told me that I really should read Harry Crews, and I said, I think I'll like it. And Henry said, you won't like it. He'll knock you out of your seat. And he was a
Harry
brilliant
Crews.
writer.
What is, like, what type of genre? What is?
It's just, his novels and short stories are there's outcast and disadvantaged characters throughout the book, and there's always a sense of humor that runs through the book.
Okay, and do you spell Crews?
Crews.
Okay.
I know there's
I
an
tried.
anthology. After he died, an anthology was released of his short stories,
Oh, okay.
and I did see it at Barnes and Noble.
Oh, cool. Okay. Then I was going to ask, what's your favorite book? I guess of all time. I feel like
Uh,
that's such a hard question.
yeah, that is probably yeah, probably the early Leonard Cohen novels and poetry books, which I'm talking so long ago, I'd have to go up to the attic and get the books out to remember the titles. But they were
That's okay.
really,
Okay.
really influential to me.
Okay.
I was walking around Madison Avenue in Albany, and
Mhm.
you know, carrying copies of Leonard Cohen's books, and you know, not too similar to my peers at that time.
Right. um, I know the answer to this, but what's your beverage of choice? Your favorite
It's
beverage?
it's a it's a religious selection, Guinness
Yes. What's
and
your
Jameson
favorite?
also, a shot of Jameson maybe.
Gosh, you're so Irish. What's your favorite food? Do you have one?
Uh, just Italian food.
Okay.
Too much
What's your
pizza.
What's your favorite dessert?
Not a big dessert person.
Okay. Like if you
Uh,
for your birthday, you don't care then like what the cake is or
I don't care what kind of cake
I
it
think
is.
I'm asking this because I work in elementary school. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I just I just worry about how much the family's spending on candles because they
I was
increased
just
so
gonna
many
say the
years.
candles. Yeah.
Yeah, very
I knew you're
expensive. I think they might be on 3 boxes pretty soon, maybe
Oh
more.
God. Stop. Um, all right. I was gonna ask what's your favorite restaurant too?
Uh,
Italian?
he, Here it's for pub food. It's Chris's Pub in
Mm-hmm.
Manans. She's a former student of mine.
Okay.
Uh, and then for a nice dinner, Delmonico's in
Delmonico's.
Albany.
Yep. I think I've been there before.
That's a nice Italian dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, where is your favorite place to be? Like it could be in your own home, it could be the beach, it could be the mountain. I don't know. Like what's your favorite place
Uh,
to be?
well, I like the beach. I like
Yeah.
going down the Jersey Shore. That's my
Hmm.
favorite.
I go to the Jersey
Uh,
Shore every summer.
yeah, Asbury Park, and that's a beautiful area of Belmar
Hmm.
Beach.
Hmm. Okay. And the most important is who is your favorite editor?
Well, Jackie, I don't. That's a loaded question, but you know you are.
Okay. I guess finally, how can people get in touch with you if for speaking events or book
Uh,
signings or anything?
my email address is the best, quickest way. I'm always
The
on the
AOL
computer.
or the
Yes,
Gmail? The AOL? Okay.
the AOL I'm on more.
I'll put it in the link.
Okay, thank you.
It's Greg with total of
Two
three
G's,
G's, right? Two
three
G's,
G's to
97.
W97.
Oh, see.
Craig
W97.
at AOL.com.
Okay. Okay. I'll put that down there. Um, I think that's it.
Okay, well, thank you. That was easy, Jackie. Thanks.
Oh, good. I just wanted to thank everyone for watching and go and get Greg's book because it's awesome.
Okay. All right.